Hello there and welcome to today's vlog. Now just a few updates. You might remember a few vlogs ago I mentioned about blood pressure issues. Well, I decided to take my blood pressure morning and evening for 7 days, which I did, and sadly it hasn't really gone down much, so it's still a bit over what it should be. So I've submitted those results to the doctors and I wait to see what they do. So there you go. Otherwise I'm feeling pretty good. Now also, if you were listening last time, you might remember me mentioning the fact that as part of a district Zoom welcome to new ministers, etc. in the district, we were each sent a cream tea in the post, and that was very nice. It came all the way from Cornwall, the Cornish Hamper store I think it's called, and incidentally, if you're interested in a cream tea from them, if you use the code FB10, I'm pretty sure you get 10% off your orders. I'm not on commission for that, but I just discovered that. So there you go. Anyway, I want to just mention a few things and string them together that kind of connect. And first it relates to that cream tea issue, because when we got onto the district welcome and everybody introduced themselves, we had just a chat, and one of the discussion points, of course, was whether when you have a cream tea you put the jam on first or the cream on first. And there's some discussion about which you do, and our district chair is originally from Cornwall, so she suggested the Cornish way, which of course is to put the jam on first and then the cream. If you're from Devon, you do it the other way around, the cream on first and then the jam. And our friend Andrew on Facebook put a comment he said make sure you put the jam on first, because he's from Cornwall of course, and I got it mixed up about which was Cornish, which was from Devon. To be honest, I've always put jam on first. It seems the logical way to do it, because it just seems to be an easier way. However, I had 2 scones. The first I did it that way, and then I realised because we put the clotted cream in the fridge, it was a bit harder, so it was a bit harder to spread. So I tried it the other way around and put the cream on first and then the jam. And lo and behold, it tasted exactly the same. So I'm sorry if I upset anybody from Cornwall or Devon. So I'll probably still continue to put jam on first in most cases, but to me it's not a big issue. But of course, to some people it is a very big issue, especially I guess if you're from Cornwall or Devon. You might think that's a really big and important issue. And yet for most of us, I guess it's not something worth falling out about. But sometimes issues magnify in our minds, don't they? And we think they become really big and important. And I'm sure that you, like me, have been in situations over the years where we've seen people fall out, or maybe we've been involved in the falling out. And actually, when you think about it, it's really only a minor issue. It's not all that important. It's not life-changing. It's not earth-shattering. And I'm sure that Sue and I, in our married lives, have fallen out over issues that really were not all that important, not worth falling out about. Incidentally, in that district Zoom discussion, when we talked about should you put the jam on first or the cream on first, the discussion then led on to, do you call these things scones or scones? And not only that, but which is the posh version? And some members of the group thought that scone was the posh way to pronounce it. Others thought scone was. So I guess we need to ask Her Majesty what she would call it. I think she'd probably call it a scone. So I call them scones, but whether that's the right pronunciation, who knows? But again, I'm not all that bothered. And that kind of leads me on in a strange way to talk a little bit about what's on my t-shirt, because just to show you, it's Vulcan Science Academy, and some of you who may be familiar with Star Trek will know that in the original series, one of the main characters was Mr. Spock, who was a Vulcan, although he served with the Federation, and his character was a fascinating character. He was governed by logic, but because he had a human mother, he had a little bit of emotion occasionally, although he tried to block that out. But he was one of my great heroes when I used to love watching the original Star Trek series. Now, his father was called Sarek, and I've just started watching on Netflix a relatively new series called Star Trek Discovery. And apparently this Star Trek Discovery takes place about a decade earlier than the original Star Trek series. So Kirk and Spock, etc., haven't really come along yet. Although it's interesting, the new series is of course much more PC, but we don't need to go into that. But anyway, one of the main characters of the Star Trek Discovery series, which I've quite enjoyed, although it's not a patch on the original series, in my opinion, is somebody called Michael Burnham. Now, it's a she, not a he. She is one of the main characters. Now, she has been brought up, adopted, if you like, by Sarek and his wife on Vulcan. So she's learnt much of the Vulcan traits of logic and etc., etc., etc. So she becomes one of the main characters. And there's a particular incident in the episode that I've just been watching where Michael Burnham is with others, trying to save the Federation against the Klingons, who have clubbed together and are attacking, intent on destroying the Federation, which is a group of different from different planets who are working for unity, etc. But the Klingons have declared war, so there's a big war going on, and Michael Burnham's parents were killed by the Klingons, and so she is struggling with this feeling of wanting revenge and to attack the Klingons, to kill them and destroy them. But Sarek is trying to help her see that there is another way apart from merely revenge. And a fascinating conversation goes on, and he says this is Ambassador Sarek. He says, "There is also grace, for what greater source of peace exists than our ability to love our enemies?" What a fascinating sentence that is. And of course it goes back to the teaching of Jesus, when he shows it a different way, something that isn't about revenge, hitting back, getting our own back, getting even, and storing up bitterness and anger and these things which so damage us. But it's about the way of peace, the way of love. It doesn't mean that we have to have loving feelings so much towards those who we might call our enemies, but love, as that book by Bob Goff that I mentioned, Love Does. Love is true love is seen in action. So we're called, however hard it is, to love our enemies, to show love in action towards them. So those who maybe speak against us, those who treat us badly, those who stand against us, oppose us, we're not called to hit back, to get our revenge, to be bitter, but to love with the love of Christ. Jesus, the one who so loved us, sinful people, that he gave his life for us. So there you are, a few random thoughts strung together, and as I say, I love Mr. Spock and his the Vulcan greeting, if you like, or the way that they might speak as they part from each other. Well, let me come on to that in a minute. One of the things about Hatfield, where we live now, is that as I look back over our 42 years of married life and all the different places we've lived, I'm sure in Hatfield, more people as you're walking out and about will look at you, smile and say hello than anywhere else we've lived. So it's a good place to live. But anyway, as I was saying, the Vulcan greeting is put your hand like that, and everybody can do it apparently. Live long and prosper. What a great way you finish. So God bless you. Thank you so much for listening.